Hello, welcome to Pieces of Pat Paints. I'm Pat. I paint pieces. Luckily, we're not having any coughing fits or anything today. That was brutal. Allergies seem to be stabilizing again for now. It won't last long. They'll come back, and then they'll be triggering my stuff again. Anyway, if you're not familiar with what we do here, we do a lot of painting of smaller things, mostly and 3D objects. At least that's what we have done so far. I do other types of art. I just, this is fun. It's exciting. People enjoy it. It sells easy. It's easy to sell. Some of your more higher end art pieces are very difficult to sell. So you have to do what you can. And I like it. I love wargaming. I've always been a role player, like role playing game guy. I guess I was the DM most of the time. I've always been the game master, or the person who runs the game. If you're not familiar with how it works. And I've played a little bit of wargaming, Warhammer, and stuff like that. So, I kind of been in the hobby off and on my whole life. Retired chef, for those of you who don't know that part. I was a chef, went all around the place, did all sorts of crazy things, saw all sorts of crazy stuff, ate all sorts of crazy food. Yeah, lots of fun. So now we paint, and that's what we do. Well, we've got a lot of work to do today, so I'm actually going to just jump straight in. We'll talk about some of the fun channel updates while we go, but I don't have a big, long thing to talk about today. So we don't have that much news, but we do have some news, which is great. So yeah, we've got another expo coming. It is in June. It will be in Oklahoma City, at the fairgrounds, which is super cool. Bigger venue, should be more people in. But yeah, that's exciting. It's exciting for the channel as we push forward into the next phases of this thing. What the hell did I do with my paint box now? That's a weird place for it. I don't normally think. I did some cleaning. I still haven't gotten quite done. I probably could take like a whole 2 or 3 days off and reset this studio, but I have so many other things to do. Not just run this show, but my actual personal life is very crazy. It's always busy. 4 kids makes it very busy. So, there's that. Okay. I don't know why I'm moving all this stuff around. It doesn't really make it matter that much. I'm just fiddling now. So, yeah. So, June 21st will be the next show. And then we'll do that show. And I'm trying to get set up for a bunch of different shows. Maybe even do a little bit of maybe some market work where they've got a lot of these different town markets that's set up where you can get a booth and you go set up at the town market and sell stuff. Which could be a whole lot of fun. We'll definitely find out. So I did take a look at these guys, and now I know kind of what I did. So we're gonna duplicate that look for sure. We were already kind of going in the right direction, so it's not too much of a change from what we were already doing. This is a sap green, is what this is called. Color green. Even though he's definitely not sappy. that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. Looks more angry than sappy, that's for sure. This is definitely going to be a little bit of an upgrade on the paint job from where it was. Those first ones, we'll probably sell those. I actually might keep those first ones just as my own private ones, and sell these better painted versions. Tell you what, when they've got 4 arms, that's a lot of extra like thinking. I'd chase down all those arms, man. Mike's on, time down, everything looks good. Well, I kind of got paranoid again. I made a couple mistakes. I think I wasn't filling well, though. Was part of what happened, honestly. Not to create excuses for myself. Sometimes I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but sometimes I'm sick. But like I guess I won't admit it to myself or something. And so like, I don't know, I guess I don't know that I'm sick because I'm not willing to admit that. It gets weird. Life's a strange thing. Life is a strange thing. Doesn't even seem real most of the time. Try not to worry too much about it, after all, in the end. We're all just floating around on a rock we were born onto and forced to pay to be here. Somewhere we messed up, y'all. I don't know where. I'm not that smart of a guy. But man, like as a people, as a race, society of people, somewhere we we made an error. We need to figure out how to go back and fix it. You can't go back though, so we gotta figure out how to fix it in the present, I suppose. start. That's that guy. Number one's got his greens on. Or is that number two? That's the second one. Let me go over this one though and check and make sure we got it right. Working on yellows and greens. We'll have the blues at the end. And we'll go through and do all their weapons and armor and stuff. My hope is to be going into that tomorrow. But we'll see, right? And this is another thing. You could do all this with an airbrush. You could knock all this out with an airbrush if you were really good. I mean, you gotta make sure you control your flow and your nozzle size, all that stuff. There's a lot of little parts to being able to do it right, but you could do it. And it would look good. It would look good as a good like that. So, what was I thinking? Let's talk about something. Airbrush. Anyway, so yeah, we just don't do that a lot on the show. I think now that we're going to be doing more trying to put miniatures on Etsy and stuff, it'll be, I think we'll be more of a we'll be doing more painting, so we'll need to step up production. The fast way to do that is going to be airbrushing a bunch of stuff. But I think we'll still do, like, on the channel, I'll still do all the hand-painted work. Because I know not everybody has space for, can't afford, or really even wants an airbrush. There's a lot of different reasons why you may or may not have one. And there's a learning curve. Like, sometimes... you know, because you got to get a new piece of equipment, and then you got to figure out how to use it, and it's a lot of money to invest in something you're not really sure of. And I mean, I'm still kind of getting. I'm not the best airbrusher, so I'm still kind of getting used to how it works. You know, I'll start using it more. I'll get better at it. But, and maybe we might do a few. Maybe we'll do some tutorials on that, or just some. We'll pull it out and do it and talk about it, I guess, which is what a tutorial is. What this line print brush is put up with a lot of abuse. It is a pretty good little all-purpose brush. Wasn't very expensive either, so. Nothing important. Empty propane cylinder. With torches in case I need to burn stuff. I need to go out in the garden and start burning everything, shit out of everything that doesn't need to be out there. I really need like a flamethrower. What about the country? I should be able to own a flamethrower, right? It's America, damn it. Oh, I better watch that. That's kind of how we ended up in the situation right now. I gotta be careful saying that sort of stuff. People really start thinking that, like, yeah, well, a civilian should own a flamethrower. There's absolutely no reason why a civilian should own a flamethrower. Beyond, like, maybe a farmer. I get, like, farmers need that kind of stuff. But, like, no, there's not the general citizenry should not possess flamethrowers. Green Bay Packerish. All this yellow and green. I'm pretty sure cadmium deep hue is the yellow for the Packers. I'm almost positive that it's either sap or hunter green. Hey, there's Sir McBeardsly. Good morning, sir. We got ourselves another expo set up. June 21st again, just to put that back out there for anybody who's listening, maybe planning on attending, or just, you know, wants to know. Just wants to know. There's also not. Some people just like knowing what's going on. They can share along from home. I think they're green, maybe darker. I think that actually may be like a forest green or not quite phthalo. Might be. Have to look that one up. I don't honestly know. I haven't paid attention to American football in a long time. Yeah, next expo, June 21st, State Fairgrounds, Oklahoma City. So that's exciting. That's a big venue. There should be a lot more people there. Oklahoma City is a big draw, so big pool to draw out of. So I'm expecting, you know, we might sell a few more pieces. We might not. I'm expecting to at least make the money I put back into the fee for the booth. We went ahead and sprung for a booth this time instead of a table, so we got a little bit more room. Which means I got a lot more work I gotta be doing. We need more painted stuff. We talked about dice bags yesterday. We're gonna be doing the dice bags. That's getting closer to being an actual thing. We got the patterns printed out, and I think Kristen is just kind of coalescing all the materials and concepts together so she can get started on making dice bags. And then we'll need a pressure pot to start making dice. We'll need a pressure pot for degassing the resin, so to get the bubbles out. When you mix resin, just part of what happens is it mixes air into it. So in order to get it out, to get those really good looking dice, you've got to run it through a pressure pot. Which I don't actually have one of those, shockingly. I have like everything else. I have so much equipment and tools. I have tools that I don't even know what they do. If I'm honest, I have a couple tools. I have no idea what they're for. I don't know how I got them. I don't know where they came from. I inherited them either from my brother or my grandfather. I don't know. Can't remember. When Eric died, he was my brother. We're not like blood related, but we were so close that people thought we were. When he passed away, there was a bunch of tools that he had left over here, so I inherited them. And then my grandfather passed away, and man, you want to talk about a guy who had a lot of tools. That guy had a lot of tools. And then I had some of my tools on my own. Just a lot. A lot of tools. You know, doesn't help that I am a tool. Like, that doesn't help. As you know, I count myself as on a tool, you know. It definitely can be. Definitely, I think everybody can be a tool, right? I think sometimes it's just let people go ahead, be a little tool a little bit. Just let them do a little bit of it, you know. Let them go. Let them go. We'll pull them back down a little bit. Let them run. It'll be funnier that way. We'll have more to laugh at. Although I suppose there's a limit there. Here's a definite limit to like how much of a tool we can put up with as a populace. I think the Americans are getting ready to find out exactly how much of a tool they can put up with. Because we got a bunch of them out there right now, and they're all in charge. Air tools. Absolute freaking tools. With no end in sight. There's a danger of like when we made the internet and we created a situation where like you had unfiltered access to the sum of human knowledge, which, you know, in some ways sounds good, in some ways it sounds like a really bad idea. Yeah, I got about a month stock on figures. The cool thing is we'll be able to sell just straight unpainted figures at this show. If it's anything by this company here, like, I don't have to paint these. I could have sold these, you know, ready to rock and roll. But we'll be able to sell unfettered prints. You know, we'll print them and make them look good, and that's an easier price point too. I feel like people people will be easier for them to buy a piece at $12 that's unpainted, because then most people want to paint them that play games. I wouldn't say most, but at least, oh man, well, yeah, I guess you could say most as in majority. A majority of people, I got a good 70% maybe wants to paint them, and you got maybe 30 or so percent wants to buy it just already done. And I'll tell you what, I'll notice a difference between like war gamers and like D&D players. D&D players seem to they're more apt to buy things painted. War gamers, they want it. If they buy a painted piece, a lot of times what they want it custom painted, so they ordered it a certain way. So there's a huge difference there. And I got to figure out the best way to work around those things and make sure we're providing the right stuff and to the right people. And That's how businesses go, right? That's what you're trying to do. We're definitely getting there. This is exciting. I feel like I could get this off the ground within, let's say a year. We'll probably be turning a profit in about a year, is what I think. I think we'll be investing into the business. Any money that it's making will probably be going back in. And then it'll start actually making money for us in about a year or so. But it's a whole lot faster than waiting on food service. Food service can take a decade before it really starts to turn a true profit. But there's so many less moving parts here, and we already have a majority of the equipment's already here, skill set's already set up. We don't have an overhead. We don't have a labor overhead. There's no labor overhead to this. It's simply my labor. So, it's interesting. If we ever get an employee, we can get back into figuring out what the labor costs and stuff are. But I'm not paying myself anything, because I'm dumping it all back in the company right now. Although it's all mine. It would all be me and Kristen and I's money. Ugh. Make sure I say it right. But it's a hell of a lot more profitable than restauranting. Timetables are a whole lot faster. Yeah, my girlfriend DM doesn't give a shit about painted figures. She'd be likely to buy already painted figures. Yeah, right. Again, she can't. There's some people that simply can't, so they fall into that category where, whether it's a physical deal or it's just simply they just don't have the artistic ability. But even if you're just buying proxy pieces and spray paint them, you could buy these Sahagin and spray paint them green, and now you got a piece, and it's easy. So you gotta have some people that are gonna be like that, but then you're gonna have some people like your DM that are like, hey, I actually would buy some painted minis, give them an option, as long as the price is right. And that's another thing, is sometimes the price is better for people if they can get a lower price on something. Because a Sahagin like this is gonna sell for like $30, $35 a piece, and that may be way out of somebody's range, because that's double the price of the actual miniature itself. Now you are, again, in that point, you're paying me as the artist to do the thing that I have the talent for, that most people don't have. So it should cost that much money, but that doesn't. Not everybody wants to pay that, and as a business person, I understand that. It's like having the Italian menu. We had a cheeseburger on it, that was a normal thing. You have to have that silly cheeseburger, because otherwise you're gonna miss that sale, and people may not bring their friends in that won't eat you know, the fancy Italian food that we were making, but they would eat the cheeseburger. So there's a little cat and mouse game, I guess, that goes on with it all. Would be the best way to describe it. Cat though. It's the same thing with like the dice bags and the dice. Those aren't going to be like they'll never be, you know, quite the focus of the studio itself or the business itself, but it's a great peripheral add-on to bring in more revenue and to get people to stop more. You know, people stop for dice. People stop for dice bags. It's a really brilliant idea to have. These guys are already looking fantastic. Oh gosh, we're 33 minutes in. Sweet. We almost have all the green done. Oh man, I shouldn't be this tired. I woke up, or I didn't even wake up early. I got to sleep in. I went to bed early. Yep, that's the one. So this is the next thing we need, is this pressure pot. We're working on this. That's the thing we'll need for the dice. My mother was looking at it. I found one cheaper on eBay. It's a new one, so I think I'm going to probably go with the one on eBay. I'll tell you what. Listen, y'all. If you're buying fiddle fat tools, little tools, or like even if it's power tools and stuff like that, man, eBay ain't a bad little spot to go get them at. Man, I'll tell you what, bro. This thing's got some whirls in it. Like that. Just this one? That's weird. That's weird. Just this one's got some strange textures to it. I don't know how I didn't notice that at first. I don't even know if we can see that in the... If you can see that in the camera or not. Yeah, I don't think we can get it to... Yeah, kinda. You can kinda see it. So like right in here, nope, it almost caught it. It almost caught it that time. But right in here, you can kind of see it popping in and out of the focus as I'm moving this thing around. The focus on it. But there's some grooves. Now those grooves are just from printing. It's just I don't know why it separated. It could have been a temperature issue. It's so weird that none of the other ones did that. Because I feel like I printed them all at the same time. Maybe I didn't. A lot of times they'll file off, so your first thing to try to do is file them down. You probably see them a little better now that I'm filing them a little bit down. All the way through the print. I always wonder if I should do these things on air, or if I shouldn't just like find the problem and be like, well, we're gonna fix it off the air. But then I'm always like, well, you know, honestly, people need to see they need to see how it's done. I mean, repetition is good. I was talking yesterday about how I was talking to my mother, I think. Yeah, how it sounds. It seems like I repeat myself a lot on the channel. But then, you know, you realize, yeah, and you know, I was like, well, that's how you teach. You know, you got to repeat it over and over again, because the first, you know, you got to figure out a way for everybody to understand it. So you got to go through a million different ways of explaining it before everybody gets it. I was like, that's legit. That's legit. So I kind of started changing my opinion on how what this show is for and what our channel is for, and kind of how we do things. I really like the idea that the channel is kind of a tutorial vlog. You can just kind of see our trials and tribulations, what we've got to do to get things to work and look the way it looks, and also kind of just keep track of our, you know, progress and our successes and failures, and, you know, just for posterity. But I don't know that I'm worried about, I don't know that I was really worried about it before, because I didn't think it was ever going to happen. I'm definitely not worried about, you know, chasing views or chasing subscriptions, because I don't know that we'll ever monetize this channel. But it is really neat to have the vlog. It's really cool to be able to, you know, record the thoughts, and, you know, I might go, you know, I'm so old I can barely think. I may go back through them to help myself remember what it was like when I was still able to pick up a file and file the bass down so we could potentially use it. Or he'll even see those whirls. Like, some people wouldn't even noticed. Even painted, they wouldn't have noticed. They'd be like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Huh. It's super weird. This isn't. None of the other bases had this problem. It's not a typical problem either. This isn't something you see all the time on your prints. My guess, like I said, my guess is it was printed. It was either cold or, well, you know what? This might have gotten printed off the old printer when the screen was starting to fail. Because my screen on the other printer failed. It started really acting crazy. And it got to where it would only print like half the file, or files that were on the build plate. So I stopped putting things on that side. This may have been back when I was still figuring it out. And now we have a new printer though. So. Speaking of Italian food, I made a fantastic lasagna last night. There you go. Nice meat sauce, both beef and pork, some bechamel. With cheese, you mean Mornay. Bechamel with cheese is Mornay. Plenty of ricotta and other nice cheeses layered up. And we're like, so like when you say Mornay, you would say like cheddar Mornay, or if I remember right. So you have different names. If you actually make like a legit, yeah. Well, you know I have to say it because I can't not forget it. Best one made so far. There you go. Play it. I've gotten really, since Kristen had to go gluten free. We've been trying to like make things that she can eat, you know, and make things the kids like. Because like making things the kids like and things that Kristen can eat is a hell of a little game. Because what she likes and what they like aren't the same thing. And so like, which they like, she can't eat because it's mostly bread. So I've got to like, I've been slowly trying to figure out how to make things. Anyway, long story short. Started making moussaka. I don't know if you've ever had moussaka. Flippin' amazing. But it's kind of like Greek lasagna, I guess, or Middle Eastern lasagna. They make it all there. But we were like frying the, air frying the eggplant, and then building it up like eggplant parmesan, but moussaka. It's really good. Using potato flakes to air fry the stuff. Yeah. Moussaka is a great alternative, especially like I said. You could do the if you do it like quick and build like a chick parm kind of thing, and you use the it's potato flakes for the breading, and you fry them, and then you layer them with and then you put sauce and cheese and then moussaka your eggplant and sauce cheese like in layers, almost like you were building a lasagna to order. It's pretty freaking good. They're pretty tasty. They're not lasagna. It's not the same thing. And you could put moussaka in a pie pan or a baked dish and bake it like a lasagna. But I kind of like the idea of building it up so it keeps some of the crispiness. I'm just a psycho for that sort of stuff, and making my life harder because that is way harder to do. But yeah, moussaka is good. And since you've almost perfected your lasagna game, you gotta work on your moussaka game next, because I'm a huge lasagna fan. I will admit that moussaka was harder to learn how to make right. Yeah, it's easy to learn how to make it, but make it right is a whole other deal, as you well know, my friend. It's easy to make a lot of things. Making them the correct way is not the easy part. Definitely want to get through these greens and yellows today. We want to have this done. All these base coasts anyway. I was kind of hoping to get the blue today, but I don't know. So, you never know. I get going. Sometimes I get going really fast. We're down to these smaller guys. Really love this guy's sculpts. I think his creatures are so fun. Some of his more human things are a little bit strange, but it's got that big comic book style. But I think it's perfect for Dungeons and Dragons. I do have another miniature company I think we're going to look into getting into with as well. And once we can prove concept on this, if we can prove that this can make its $50 a month back, well, it's not 50, it's less than 50, but it's a spruce piece. There's another one of those little scaffolding things, the supports from when it was printed. And sometimes you get them all off, and sometimes you just have one stuck. Even after you dry brushed it. Somehow the dry brush didn't take it off. Doesn't make any sense. But it didn't. You'd be a good DM, actually. You're chill enough. Like, so the thing about being a DM, and it's so weird because, like, me as a DM is completely different than me as a chef. Like, when I'm DMing, it's very, very just kind of let you. Because that's the thing when you're a DM, you just kind of have to let them. You can't influence their story, so you have to try and play as all the bad guys and how they're going to react. But you've also got to balance that with not getting your players too upset because they're getting absolutely obliterated because you know their number, you have their number. But you do good at it because you don't have the ego to bruise. You know what I mean? To you, it's a game and it's fun and it's all about the time you're spending with people and having the fun. That's what it is to me too. It doesn't have anything to do with winning or losing. If you're a DM, you can't be playing the game because you want to win. You don't win. That's not what a DM does. DMs don't win. That's not. Players win. Players can win. We don't. We don't win. If all the players die, then the game's over. That's it. And we start another game. There's no winning for us. We didn't win. The dungeon beat the players. Like, it's not. I don't know. It's a different mindset altogether. Like I said, you'd be suited for it because you're not. Like I said, you don't have the big, massive, like, I gotta win mentality thing, which is you have to shed that if you want to DM. You can't. The worst DMs are the ones that are just beating the hell out of their players all the time. Their players, they don't ever win because the DM's obsessed with himself winning. And that just doesn't make good role playing games. It doesn't make good Dungeons and Dragons games. Because then your players will quit and they don't want to play anymore. And then what do you do? What are you gonna do? Huh? Yeah. You love being don't really like being the player, but you love being a DM. Yeah, like I said, you're more of the. Like I said, I could definitely see you being more the type that will, like, you want to be the minions. You want to come up with the crazy story, and you want to play it. You don't want to play the one role. You want to play multiple characters. You want to be the, that is what DMs are. DMs are the. Yeah. Well, like I said, you can't take that advice because that's a big one. If you want anybody out there who's listening, if you want to be a dungeon master or a game master of any kind, the point isn't for you to win. You're not trying to win. You're not trying to kill the characters. You're trying to make a world move the way that a world would move in theoretical reality. So, like, for instance, if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, bugbears have a very specific way they act. They're not prone to acting another way. They're prone to being big, thuggish, brutish creatures that hoard things and knock around things that are smaller than them. That's what they do. They're like, it's basically like a big, giant soccer hooligan. Now, if you have a whole group of those things, that's how they're going to act. Now, if a bunch of soccer hooligans see some little humans walk into their camp, they're going to beat the snot out of them, unless there's some good reason for them to not. So that's why that encounter happens. That encounter isn't happening because the DM wants to kill the players. The encounter is happening because no, this one had it too. I guess more than one have it. Maybe it's these smaller guys. This one just has it in one little space. Where'd it go? See, now I've lost it. don't see it. This guy's got barnacles on his leg. Phone keeps buzzing. Oh, that's one. Yeah, man, you would be a good DM, brother. I think you do, because you're patient too. You got to be patient if you want to be a dungeon master, because like players like always miss your obvious clues. So you have to be like patient and wait, because they'll come back around and they'll figure it out. It just takes. It's sometimes you're just too clever for your own good as a dungeon master, or they're too clever for their own good as players. And so they kind of wander off into things that are like, you're like, what are y'all doing? This is nothing to do with the plot at all. Where are you going? But as a DM, you kind of want to let them go, because they need to learn on their own. They've got to go figure it out, and they don't see the book that you have, or the story that you wrote, or whatever it is that you're using. They don't see the stuff in it, and they're going on their own motivations, and some of them are going on their character motivations, and some of them are going on their actual who they are as a person player motivations. So a DM's got to be super patient, figure out which one they're doing, and then figure out the best way to kind of gently nudge them in the right direction. There's a lot of gently nudging people in the right direction as a DM. Yeah, I'm just a narrator for my players' stories. Yeah, exactly. There's an overarching plot, and I plan to tell, but how we get there is up to the players. That's exactly the way you look at it. Yeah, that's what makes good DMs. Good DMs are like that. They're like, there's a story that we're trying to tell. There's a world you're existing in, and this world is moving and breathing. And I want to tell this story, but I need you guys to get through the parts of it that tell the story. And just the patience that's required for that. Some people simply don't have that kind of patience, so they get frustrated, and they either give up the DM's side of things, or they ramrod things into the players, and the players feel like they're on they're getting a train ran on them, and they don't want to do that. When you take away the player agency, it loses all the luster. The game loses all its fun and feel, and the players will get mad and they'll quit. Ask me how I know. My son's getting tired of that phrase. I say that stuff a lot to him. Ask me how I know. That's usually I know this because it happened to me, and your excuses aren't going to work, because I know that this is how this actually works in reality, because that is what happened in reality. That's okay. It's good to have your dad around, though, so he can tell you what to do when the chips are down and stuff get crazy. This world is crazy. Man, I got a bunch of work I gotta go do when I get out here. I gotta get spreadsheets ready. Yeah, so much stuff going on. a little over, but we're so close. I'm gonna finish this last guy up so we can get this done. Let's get these rolls. Oh yeah. Let's slide right into home base here. Now we might have to make a some modifications further down the line. We might have to add some colors or some touch-ups here and there, but for the most part, we'll be ready to rock and roll tomorrow. Which is good. It gives them all a chance to really get good and dry before we mess with them again. Because the next stage here is the blue. Once we start adding that, it will definitely go in a direction. Sometimes that direction isn't the way we want it to be either. Sometimes it gets a little hairy. Because we just put it down yellow and green, and now we're going to put blue on top of it, and that'll make the yellow green, and the green will get greener. It's interesting. But it'll definitely look great. Yeah, a lot of the games definitely cannot change directions. They get stuck on, and then that's when you get railroaded. That's when you just put on, at that point you're just put on the railroad, you're just driving on the train. And then it's not, the players don't have as much fun, and then the game goes out, and it's over. So you've got to kind of, there's always a little bit of political playing, and just kind of like, I don't know, not, the game isn't about you as the DM. The game is about the players playing the game. If you remember that, you'd be fine. Can't, you shouldn't be DM, in my opinion. So anyway, now we got all this foliage paper. Looking wonderful. Looking wonderful. Long way to go, but we're definitely getting there. It's gonna be nice to have them all have some color tomorrow when I take a picture. Look good. Alright. Bam. Got that done. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Anybody who came by, really appreciate you. Hopefully you give us a like and a subscribe. That'll help. It's nice to see that stuff. Good little dopamine kick for those of us that are running the channel and doing the thing behind the scenes. We're definitely trying to move on up, get ourselves If we can get to 500, that'll be the first like major big rung. So it's the first criteria you have to have for them to start monetizing. So, but you know, we'll never have any paid advertisers beyond ourselves. So, but they may end up putting commercials on here, but I won't have any. I'm not gonna shamelessly plug Mint Mobile or what's the other one? Everybody does. Golly, right now it's all the Alaskan Seafood Company. You know what I'm talking about? Where they all have the different sponsorships and stuff. That's definitely not. That is not the Pieces Pat Paints style. So we won't be doing that. Anyway, I bent my tweezers. I got to figure out how to fix them. I hope you guys have a great day. We're gonna definitely be back tomorrow. I'm thinking about changing times. I've been watching the analytics and like nobody really like we don't get very many viewers during the time that these shows go live. And almost all the viewership is after the fact. So I'm thinking about changing the time. If you have any suggestions, drop them in the comments. I don't know what a time slot you think would be better for us. And I know we have lots of friends overseas that watch us, but again, it looks like they're seeing us, after the fact. So the live show can kind of go wherever it needs to. But we can find more people that maybe would watch it during the time it's live. I would move the show around more. So I've got to figure out what time that is. So again, if you've got any suggestions, throw them in there. Maybe we'll have a poll or something like that. We'll be discussing it for a little while. I definitely won't be making any changes before I go to vacation. So, yep. Any changes to be made will be made after vacay. Maybe even after the next show. I may not mess with my life until after June 21st. So, I think that's about it. I hope you guys have a great day. And I hope you, if you're out driving, be nice to somebody. Don't drive like a butthead. And be good to people. Be good to somebody. Anybody out there. Doesn't matter who. Just be good to somebody. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.